class. I hope you're enjoying this day so far. So my name is Jennifer Arndu. I am an educator. I'm also a literacy coach. I work for the Department of Education, and I oftentimes have dealt with students writing for their essays. So today you're going to learn a lot. So I'm hoping that we are attentive and that we take this actually seriously, because this is your future, okay? So, and we'll answer any questions later on after we finish our presentation, okay?
I just want to say we were fortunate to have both of them. They're both very accomplished people, and to have both of them do this presentation. I think you benefit a great deal from it. Dr. Bill to say that she's a New York Times bestselling author. She doesn't like to say it, but I say it. I'm big about it.
You know, it's right. We all use words. And I've also been in the position where you are now. I was from a family where no one had gone to college before. So I was in the position of having to figure out how to deal with the pieces. So that's what we're trying to do for you this morning, is to show you, to help you figure out how to deal with the pieces, because they're doable. We just have to break them into manageable tasks. So, it is time to write my college admission and scholarship essay. The scholarship part of that is important too. The admissions is obviously your first task once you get into a college. Scholarships help you pay for them. And for instance, Footsteps to Follow, which is the organization that is doing this workshop that I am with, that all of the other people who are with us today are with. We like to share the information that we have gathered along our path with young people to show you how you. I never met anybody who was a writer when I was 30. So I really didn't know where to begin to make that a career choice. So part of what we try to do is help you along your path. And writing your essay and scholarship essay, there is a lot of money out, and that's actually the workshop that follows this one, excuse me, is where to find scholarship money. So I'll throw that in so it can help convince you to stay and see what information there is there. Why did I have to write an essay about myself? Okay, fair enough. You send each college your test scores, transcripts, extracurricular activities, recommendations, etc. This is the one chance before an interview where you get to talk about what makes you unique, what has influenced you on your path, or what is important to you. It's your chance to speak up. It's your chance to become an individual and not just a series of numbers. Yes, you have test scores. Yes, you have a list of accomplishments, but this is your chance to be who you are. So take advantage of it, and we're going to show you how to do that. It is an example of communication skills and proficiency as a writer. Yes, there is a test part of this assignment. They want to see if you can communicate an idea, carry it through, and come up with a conclusion. They want to see how far along you are on the path to being a student who will do well in their institution. If it's a scholarship, they want to see if they invest in you, will it pay off? They want to invest in students who are on the way to helping themselves. So this essay is a chance for you to show why you are the one.
So how do I start? Start early. Whether you're a sophomore, whether you're a freshman, actually it's better to start early because you have some time to kind of tweak it and try to add more, take away. Give yourself the best chance to be outstanding. They want to know about you. Each and every one of you in this room is special in your own way. So now is your time, your opportunity to share that and how special you are, all right? Writing in a last-minute frenzy is likely to result in only a sketch, not the full picture. A lot of us know in class when we're writing and our teachers have deadlines and we kind of procrastinate and wait last minute, and it comes out to be something that could have been better if we actually would have put more time into it, okay? And I was good for that as well. Many times where I procrastinated and I didn't I handed in my paper, but it could have been better if I actually took out more time to write the paper. So it's important to start early. Write down 3 words to describe yourself. Think about it. Think right now. I want you to take a pause. Think about 3 words right now that you can describe yourself. How would you describe yourself using 3 words?
And if there are things that you think, gee, maybe I don't want to tell anybody that, write it down anyway, and we'll see if we can turn that into a positive. Sometimes it's just flipping the script and figuring out another way to express what you first started out with.
So what about 3 words? You jotted it down? Sometimes it's hard to talk about ourselves. You know, sometimes we don't give ourselves the credit for who we are and what accomplishments we have done.
And I know for myself, one of those is sort of that I like to work by myself. I guess I'm an only child and I am kind of a loner. Well, I can make a perfect argument for you that that's a really good quality in a writer. It means that I am not afraid to sit down and do the work until it's done. It means that I am a self-starter. I have to be, because there's nobody else there to start me. So even if the word sounds like it might be a negative or you're not sure, be honest with yourself. Write it down and see what it becomes.
So does that lead you, the words that you wrote down, does that lead you to a particular event, life choice, or passion? Think about it. See if those 3 words convey a positive message. For example, if you're talkative, perhaps you're a communicator, okay? Eager to exchange ideas and share experiences. Think about it, if you are talkative, think about it as a strength. Don't think about some of the words that you've written down, that it, like Donna shared with us, that it could be a negative. Don't look at it as a negative, because there's always a strength with some of the words that you use to describe yourself, okay? So if you are talkative and you get in trouble a lot in class because you talk a lot, you can be a good communicator. There's a lot of different things, career paths that you can take because you are talkative, okay? Those 3 words prompts could lead you to a topic for your essay, all right? Because you have to remember, you need a topic for your essay, all right? So this is the next exercise. Oh,
I'm going to see if anybody wants to share one of their 3 words.
oh yes.
Yes. All 3. You can do all 3.
Passionate, motivated, and
What's the last one?
leader.
Leader. Okay, that's good. Yes.
I said outspoken, intelligent, and confident.
I like it. It gives you a place to go. Yes. All good. All good. So those are concepts for you to hold on to while you are formulating your essay. And
So next exercise, write down 3 things you care about, challenge you, or that you are interested or interest you the most. So let's take another pause, process it, let's think. 3 things you care about, that challenge you, or that you're interested in.
as I mentioned before, I knew that I was interested in writing, but I wasn't sure how to get there. The good news about coming to workshops like this is maybe you get another angle to approach a subject of. I never met a writer until I was one. And so I like to share the way that I thought about things with other young people who might be interested in writing. But whatever your choice is, it's good to talk to people
Yes.
who are in that field, because they can save you a lot of steps. You know, they've been there before and they know that this step didn't necessarily lead them to where they wanted to go, but some other steps might.
And just to piggyback off of that, we know we live in a day and age where we research a lot, which is great, but to have that person in front of you actually exchanging words with them to find out more about what it is they do and why is much more helpful, because now you're talking from someone's own personal experience, all right? So if you're shy, try to get some courage and speak to these individuals. It's extremely important, okay? So can your essay be a chance to share that interest, expertise, or how you were able to overcome those particular obstacles? So look at those words again. Ask yourself that question. Can your essay, based on the 3 things that you used, be a chance to share that particular interest, that your expertise, or how you were able to overcome those obstacles?
Okay. And what I'm gonna do is give you a few examples of college essays. They are purposely left rather broad so that there's a chance for you to come through. They want to give you a pretty open question, like, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Okay, that leaves a lot of room for you to figure out what your topic is and what you want to say to them. Reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? So a lot of the questions, and there are lots and lots of them online that you can take a look at from different colleges, but what you will find is that they are not looking for a true or false kind of situation. This is a chance for you to expound on what means something to you. So take it. Okay.
Next exercise.
Yes.
I just want to say something. We have a scholarship, maybe we're giving cheat sheets or something, but we have a scholarship and our standard question, University followed us. We have scholarships available to seniors from underserved communities. But one of the things we ask in that is we ask what, describe someone who you admire and why. That is your opportunity. It's broad because who you choose can also frame who you are and why you admire the person. Let's think about that kind of thing. And that's probably a cheat sheet for our thing. So there you go.
Yeah, look for the chance to let you come through. That's what we're telling you. So, how do I create a structure for my essay? Stories have a beginning, middle, and an end. Your essay should too. It's helpful to know where your essay will end because then you can plot the pivotal points that get you to the conclusion. Okay, so you kind of come up with a general idea of what it is that you want to say. Start to break it down into maybe it's about what got me interested in this in the first place. Maybe that's an interaction with someone who excited you or impressed you. Maybe it was a life situation, whatever, but that is the kernel for what the rest of your essay will be about, so you can start to plot that. The beginning gets your reader's attention. It's a chance to introduce them to the story they will be reading. Often we're told to restate the question as the first sentence. That's acceptable, but just imagine if every essay you read had the same beginning. You would get bored in a hurry. You want to be memorable, not boring. Find your own way to begin. But keep it brief, maybe just a paragraph. Yeah, I mean, think of the person who's going to be reading this essay. After they've heard the question restated about 47 times, they're snoozing. And you don't want them to snooze when they're reading your essay. You want to wake them up. You want them to say, gee, I haven't heard that before. I can't wait to hear what this is going to be about. It's like any other thing. If you're watching a TV show and it just seems really boring, you change the channel. But you don't want them to change the channel on your essay. So try to make it attention grabbing. The middle is the heart of your story. It shows your motivation. Depending on your story, it may let us know your goals and your plans to get there. It may take us through your journey from first inspiration, through the challenges, the missteps, how you recovered and reached your goal. So that's kind of a nice arc. That's what we call the path of the story, the arc. Maybe it's from the place where you weren't really sure until you found your feet, until you were able to reach your goal. But again, it's part of storytelling. There are a lot of people who are verbal storytellers, and they use the same techniques. They want to get you engaged, they want to rein you in, and they want you to ask yourself, what happens next? So that's what you're doing in the middle part of your story. The end lets the reader know the outcome and how the events in your story will affect your future. It also may let us know the plans you are making to reach your next goal. Because once you reach your goal, it's time for the next one. So if your goal is to, well, that may be part of the message. Your goal may have something to do with something else you've already accomplished and why this college will help me on my path to reach my next goal. But leave them with a solid conclusion, and then you have a full story, beginning, a middle, and an end.
Let the writing begin. So now that you have an idea of what your topic will be, it's time to get started. So remember, there's a thought process first. So you're going to think about what your topic's going to be, how the layout is going to be, and then you begin writing, okay? On the first draft, just let your writing flow. Just write. It's not a test situation. There's no time pressure because you're getting started early. So you shouldn't feel pressured, oh my God, I have a deadline, I don't have enough time. You shouldn't feel that, and that's why we go back to making sure that you start early, okay? Spelling and grammar can be corrected later, so no worries about that. When you write a draft, you know there's a lot of revisions and editing and that's going to take place, but it's just a draft, okay? It's helpful to reread the piece on another day, because sometimes when you're writing, you're in the zone, and then after a while you kind of get tired. Sometimes your brain wanders, you get distracted, so don't try to, or feel forced to reading it the same day that you write it. Look at it the next day, okay? It's okay. You will have some space from it, and you can often see it with a fresh set of eyes. You can move the pieces of the story around or even add new points to it. Writing the piece will trigger some memories and some incidents that you may want to include, or reveal a point that you didn't realize was there. So sometimes the first day you wrote your draft, you just wrote it out. But the next day when you take another look at it, there may be something that may come across your mind that you feel the need to add in to that essay, all right? And then you add it in, okay? So keep that in mind.
And I can tell you that my first novel was written before we all had computers. Doesn't that sound like 1,000 words? But it really wasn't. So I used to write on yellow legal pads. And I would have arrows point, and I would attach pieces of paper that I taped on because I thought of something else. And now you can do that with, block and copy or move and whatever. You do it on the computer, but it's the same thing. Once you read what you have, there are things that you realize that you want to add. Now you're free to add them. So another reason to start early. Next. Don't stretch the facts. This is your story, but it is not fiction. I get to make up the facts. I write fiction. But you do want to stick to the story as it happened if you're talking about yourself. And yes, there are ways that we can make it sound bigger and more heroic or more whatever. But you want to stick to the facts because everything is verifiable these days. You can find it posted somewhere, or somebody has written about it also, and it's not the same as whatever. Don't put yourself in a position where you get caught in an untruth.
Now I was gonna say, add on a little bit. If you're writing, when you write the essay, be truthful, because what happened if they want to interview you, and you have to do a one-on-one, and then the thing that you wrote, you're not able to generate the story that you wrote. So just be truthful in all things, okay?
It's helpful to read your essay aloud. Sometimes we can hear where the language is awkward and make changes. Again, I can tell you this from experience. I have been the narrator for some of my novels. And so when you're in the booth and you speak the words, you can see if there is really rhythm or if something does sound awkward. I do it while I'm writing. Dialogue, I want to sound the way that people speak. You want your essay to flow, maybe not as casually as we all speak sometimes, but in a way that brings your reader along with you. So reading it aloud can help you hear those things. Give yourself plenty of time to proofread and edit your essay. The admissions reader will be looking for your technical writing ability, so don't give them a reason to pick up a red pen. That is the correction pen. We don't want them to think, gee, that could have been said more smoothly, or this is the wrong tense, or any of that. You want, in your correction process, to get all of those things smooth and correct. If you're given word count parameters, make sure you stay within them. If you are instructed to submit between 300 and 1,000 words, don't submit 200 or 2,000. Yes, it sounds like if you give them more than they asked for, that you get extra credit for that. But really, they're looking to see how well you follow instructions. And so you want to give them what they asked for. If you find yourself in a situation where you've written more than that, for instance, that's a luxury. You can pick and choose the things that you want to take out. And it's a good exercise. I've done it again with a novel that, you write it out, the first draft, and there are things that you love, but maybe you don't need them to tell your story. There are things that you like. It's like, gee, I really like the way that flowed, but maybe you don't need it to tell your story. So you have to develop a skill to be able to remove that, set it aside, maybe it comes in handy somewhere else, but then you don't need it for this particular assignment.
And I was gonna say, scoring, when we're scoring state exams, and students have to write their essays, and we realize that there's a lot of times students add on more to the writing and they deviate away from the initial response they were supposed to give that we were asking for. Remember, we're reading hundreds, thousands of papers, okay? So you have to make sure that you're sticking to what they're asking you to do. Just because you have more words doesn't mean that you're like, oh, this is awesome, they wrote so many words. Stick to your topic. Okay, stick to your topic and say what you have to say, and that's it, okay?
Just want to add, Donna said that when she started writing her window, well, I should say no computer, she didn't have one. Anyway, but the thing is, what I'm gonna say is, if you can't hit spell check or grammar check, then you're just being lazy. It is done for you now. It's not like back in the day. So you know you need to hit spell check or grammar check. Before that thing goes out, spell check, grammar check, just a button. That's all you gotta do. And it'll do it for you. And if you don't have it done, then they're gonna say, well, gee, they couldn't even hit the button. So, you really wanna make sure you do that before it goes out.
Even to your reader, I mean, that really is a very simple thing that we can do. So even before you give it to the person that you want to help you with it, do those things. It just shows that you are really taking the action in your own hands.
So time for feedback, all right? It can be intimidating to show your writing to others, but it is important to make sure that readers get the points that you are making. Identify potential readers. They should be people who will give you constructive criticism, okay? So be careful with your friends, because they love you so much, they may not be as honest with you, all right? They may tell you it's wonderful just because you're their friend, okay, or you wrote it. The readers could be parents, okay, if you don't want it to be your parents, siblings, okay, teachers, librarians, mentors that you may have, after-school tutors, okay, anyone who will be able to guide you toward a polished essay, all right? And hopefully the individual that's rereading it will be honest, because not everyone is good with writing, so some people that may read it may not be, that may be a weakness for them as opposed to a strength. So hopefully they're honest when you go to them and say, maybe someone else can read this for you as opposed to myself. Give your readers plenty of time. Don't give them the piece the day before it's due. Because remember, this is all a process. So you want to be able to go back, you want to be able to tweak it, do what you need to do. So don't wait last minute. And I know the day and age you live in, you have so much going on. Oftentimes we wait last minute. Do not wait last minute. Remember, always remember, this is your future, okay?
And I was listening to a piece the other day, it was a school principal or something, and it was talking about how much effort the teachers put forth when they are dealing with students who are applying to college. That they were given countless numbers of recommendations to write. And that they really do spend time trying to make the recommendation personal and to highlight the students' strengths and to highlight their growth when they knew them. That takes time. So and that's time that's not on the clock. That's time, that's their time. And a lot of this time where they might be reading your essay is also on their time. They want you to do well, but help them help you do well by giving them the piece early so they really can give it the kind of attention and time that it deserves.
And don't be afraid to give it to somebody that you think is gonna be really, really hard on you. She's my hard on you. But I give it to her because I know that she's going to really be critical. She's a writer. That's I'm a lawyer. She's the writer. That's what she does. And I don't, want you to bear away from her. I know people have run from her. I must say. But anyway, but that's it. Thanks. Okay.
Let's get started. Your goal. Follow the instructions you are given and write an informative and engaging essay that shows why you should be a winning applicant. Your plan. Map out your story in advance so that you know where you're going with your story and what you want to convey. The language here is chosen very purposefully. You have the goal, and that's the ultimate endpoint. You have the plan. Those are the steps that get you to your goal. So it's helpful when you identify what the goal is and also identify what your steps are going to be. Sometimes it's helpful to write them out. Maybe you have an outline for yourself that says, on Tuesday after soccer practice, I'm going to sit down for half an hour and I'm going to outline my essay the way that I think that it should go. Put it on your schedule, because that's the way things get done. I mean, I know I look at my calendar every day and I figure out what things need to be done. Some of those are personal items. Buy food. Basic, gotta happen. But there's also a way that you can write yourself into your schedule, and it's important to do so. Otherwise, all the other activity, and let's face it, the activity that you want to do, the fun stuff, all of that can take over. So that if you have a goal and steps on your plan to refer to, you have a way to say, oh, wait a minute, I want to do this, but really, right now, what I need to do is take this half hour out. And I'm not asking you to take big chunks of time. We're not talking 3 hours. Because if you're not somebody who loves to write, 3 hours is a long time with some words. But if you take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, those are manageable. That's the length of a TV program. Even if it's 22 minutes without the commercials. So those are manageable bits of time. They even fly when we're watching TV. So take that for yourself. Take that for something that ultimately will be very important to you. You'll not regret it.
And we have to remember as well, we're all different learners in this room, okay? So some of you may be more visual. So when you're mapping out, you may have boxes, with your particular topic. Some of you may just automatically just begin to write, okay? You have to think about how you learn best in helping you to actually write your essay, okay? Another reason why you should start early, because some of you, it may take a longer time, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, all right? So think about that as well. Some of you may only be able to sit down for the 30 minutes, whereas some of you may be able to sit down for an hour and write, all right? So you have to make sure that you give yourself an ample amount of time to get this done, okay?
So what we really are urging you to do is to get set. Getting set means G is for get an early start. Can't emphasize that enough. E, explore your interests, expertise, or other obstacles you have overcome to develop your topic. T, tell your story freely in the first draft. Okay?
S, sharpen your essay in the next draft. Identify the beginning, middle, and the end, which is what we talked about previously. E, editing is key, okay? Find a teacher, a parent, a mentor to help you sharpen your essay, and maybe even an edit. Some of your teachers may have to edit in the list, okay? It's some type of checklist that you can use to make sure that you check over all the components of your essay that you need. Ask them and see, okay? And if not, go online. You could probably more than likely find a checklist, okay, for college essay to make sure you're able to check off what you have in your essay. And T, be telling your unique story, okay? Remember, you're all special, okay, in your own way, all right? Someone needs to hear your story, all right? So always remember that.
Okay, so you're gonna get set, you're gonna write the essay. Does anyone have questions? Have any of you started to write your essays? Okay, lots. How's that going?
I finished it, but I'm gonna do my rough draft. I didn't go back and edit it yet, and I gave it to my English teacher, but she's kind of nice.
She's doing what?
She's kind of nice, so.
Oh. You wanna get somebody?
Do wicked.
Dig around a little bit.
I just want to ask, what year, what are you all in? Who's freshman, who's, I know you're not
Seniors,
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 so
seniors?
let's just go around the room. Just give me your name and what you are.
I'm Alexa, I'm Greg, freshman.
Getting started early is good, all of you.
I'm Sophia, I'm a freshman. Josephine, and I'm a junior.
Are you back there?
Kate, I'm a junior.
John? Ron, I'm junior.
I'm Leah, I'm a senior. I'm Selena, I'm a senior.
Very nice.
I'm Marie, I'm a junior. I'm Cookies, I'm a junior. And I'm a junior.
So we have a lot of juniors, you're still juniors.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a whole year. Oh my gosh, what time you have? So, and it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great. It's just starting early, really, you don't wanna, it's just something that you have to do it. That's what all the schools ask for it. And you really want to get this in, so that's great, I'm glad to hear that.
No, that's good information. And have you, I'm guessing that you've taken maybe PSATs? You've taken the SATs already? Okay. All right, so yeah, it's real at this point. You know, you have this year to kind of get ready for it, and then next year you're just in it.
The freshmen started really early.
Yes.
This stuff is, because honestly, I know I go way back, because I don't wanna go, okay? But I remember waking up, and it was late, okay? I was like, she went to Barnard, she went to Columbia University, so she woke up before me, we grew up together, but I woke up late, I was like, oh wait, I'm leaving here school, what do I have to do? And you don't want to get it caught in like that, because that's when the trouble starts. I recovered, I think, but, you know, it shouldn't have been that way. So really, that's something that we have to know ahead of time, that essay is coming, you know, unless they change things and the whole world revolves around it, it's gonna be there. It's been there since the beginning of time. Can't get away from it, it's there.
And truly, I like to flip it around and think of it as a positive, because there are so many, how many students are there in the school like Asta? Thousands. What is it that helps you to stand out as an individual? That's what you're really looking for, that's kind of key. So starting early gives you that chance. And I was one of those kids who my parents were very supportive, but they couldn't tell me the individual steps that I needed to take and what time I needed to take them and, you know, what classes. So for those of you who are here with your parents, good on your parents, you know, that you're keeping them and supporting them through the process. It's really helpful.
And I will say, I just want to speak on this. We have a scholarship I mentioned, and I don't want, we've seen some terrible essays, and that's what started us thinking about this. Our organization had a lot of different programs that we put on, thinking about careers and all that. Because we're diverse, we have a lot of different careers. Jennifer just left; she's an engineer, an electrical engineer at Drummond, and so we have Barry, we have Ruth, she's a CPA, she's going to be doing a certified public accountant, money, and she's going to be doing the later workshop on scholarships, how to get them, how to make sure you get that money. There's money out there, don't kid yourself, there's money out there. But I will say with our scholarship, we had some essays that I just looked at and said, how could you bring this in here? You know, but then again, we had degrees, so some people were able to recover, but there are a lot of times that you don't get that chance to recover. This is all they see, and they take that and they say, not granted an interview today. You know, so that kind of thing, and you don't want that to happen because of something that you could have changed, something you could have worked on. So I just wanted to mention that. It's very important when they talk about the word count, make sure that, I used to use word count, they used to have the word count thing. I don't know if Word has the word count. Word has it, right? So, they all do. So you have a word count. I mean, just try to keep it, if we ask for, you know, a certain amount of words, and we see 2 lines, and I'm like, 3 lines, wait a second. I can't believe you said that. And so it shows, A, that you weren't prepared, you weren't really thinking about it, you just threw it up against the wall, but it would stick. And it doesn't sometimes. And there's money out there, you don't want to lose it on the scholarship money just because you didn't take a few extra minutes to do something different, because we all have some extra time in there, even though everybody's busy, but there's some time that's the things that are important that are going to affect your future that you want to take the time for. And that's just a suggestion from me to you.
Well, and also, in terms of the scholarships, there may be a lot of things that you apply for, like scholarships, in addition to schools, where you are required to write an essay. It doesn't mean that you have to start from scratch for each essay. There are themes that you probably have developed that you can use. You might be able to actually submit the same essay, because people who are granted scholarships, they're not reading the other essays that you submitted, they're just not. So there may be chances for you to resubmit an essay that you have already done. There may be ways that you can tweak the concepts and the themes from an essay without completely rewriting it so that it meets the specifications for other venues. So some of that is also being organized. Let's talk a little bit about that. Before I start to write a novel, I write from a plot. So I have a sense of what each character is going to do, what is their arc, where do they come into the story. I know what all of the pieces are before I begin. Sometimes you end up reorganizing them, but you have a general idea. Well, you can start to do the same thing with all of your material for college. That, this is, the essay that I've worked on. These are the number of things that I want to apply for. How do I use this piece that I've developed and make it fit this and this and this and this? Because you only have so much time in a day. You really still have to do your studies and your homework and keep up with what's going on currently. But if you play your cards right and you create even a little bit of organization, you can help yourself get through all of the tasks that you have to get through.
I just want to piggyback on something that was said about essays. I'm Elizabeth Clark. I am an attorney, and I just want to say this quick. I just want to, even although your lives are so busy and you are juggling so many things and you have so many essays to write, you're applying for scholarships, you're applying for colleges, be careful. Make sure you proofread your essays so that when you're submitting an essay for Footsteps to Follow, you don't say, I am applying for this scholarship because Footsteps is a wonderful organization, and you send that essay to, let's say, the American Cancer Society. So when they're reading it, they're saying, huh? So just be careful, because I've seen that. So you don't want your wires crossed in that, to that extent.
This is on our scholarship committee, so we see it all. Okay, so,
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions? Yes.
How many times do you think someone should revise their essays?
That's an interesting question. Because sometimes you get really obsessed with it and you don't want to let it go. So I can't give you a specific number of times, but if you have allowed the time to work this all through, you started early, at some point, you tend to get a feeling about, I'm done. I've never going to say, I like the way that I have worked on this. I've gotten reviews from parents, teachers, whomever, and everybody so far has given me the A-OK. Then you're done. Yes.
You ask the participants here to write 3 things down, their strengths, and also 3 words to describe their weaknesses. I'm just curious to know what their weaknesses and how it can be turned into
A positive?
Yes.
Does anybody want to share that? What they wrote down as strengths or weaknesses? Anybody?
You have expert help in the room. She can work magic.
you just had, I know some of you missed it, but we did a powerful interviewing skills workshop just before this one. And we talked about weaknesses. And one of the things we talked about is making sure that when you put a weakness down, you put something about how you overcame it. Now, I'm not one for putting the weakness in my essay. If they ask me that as an interview question, I'm gonna have to answer. I can't just say, which I told people that a young lady did with our last time with our questioning when we asked her during the scholarship interview. She told us she had none. All right, really. But the thing I'm concerned about is that for me, I wouldn't personally put it in an essay unless I had to. Because I don't see where, unless the essay asks me that, then I'm going to have to respond. And in responding, what I would hope that you would do is, and what I've had to do, and I have to work on this too, is say something that you've overcome, that you know, like my weakness was, I had problems with name, I gave that as an example. But then I learned to associate certain things about the person with the name, that I could remember the name and associate what that was, so that helped me with things. Whatever it is, make sure you have a turnaround, something to show that you did something to improve yourself. I took a course in such and such, and that helped me a whole lot. Oh, you may notice from my transcript or from my GPA that I'm a little weak in math, but I've turned that around by taking Excel from other math courses that have helped me, and you'll see that that has come up. You know, those are the things you want to make sure that you hone in on, because certainly they're going to see it. They're not going to listen. I used to think I could hide my transcript, but it's there. They see it. It's glaring. And I used to date someone years ago who was an admissions counselor, so I know where everybody's sitting, because he used to bring this stuff and say, help me do this. And he was at NYU and a few schools, and I started to learn how to pick things out. And that helped me in terms of figuring out what I said to you all. And nothing has changed, it's all the same. I don't know what will ever change. Admissions is admissions. So
Okay.
just so you know, make sure that if there's something weak in your transcript, if there's something weak in any part of you, make sure you bring that out.
Just a
and turn it
minute.
around and fix it.
So we hope that this has given you a little guide to a way to approach your essay. We wish you all of the best in getting set and writing your essay, and onward to your college career.
And if you missed any of this, right, we have provided YouTube. I don't know who's the staff there handling it, so I'm hoping it is all, if the work here is shaking, but if you go to Footsteps to Follow on YouTube, we made it available for you all. Also the interviewing that we did before this, the skills thing. Okay? And we're gonna do the financial too,
Thank you for coming. Best of luck to all of you.